Welcome to Highly Therapized, an in-depth exploration of mental health topics, unpacking them one layer at a time. I'm your host, Jenny Peterson, and today I have on Amberly Potter, and we are discussing a lot, actually, like the cost of caring, a therapist's journey through addiction, bipolar disorder, and renewal. So,
Mhm.
yeah, if you want to just take it away and introduce yourself.
Okay. Hello. My name's Amberly Potter. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I've been in the field about 10 years. Um, I also am a mom. I have three children. I've got a 15-year-old son, 10-year-old son, and I just had a baby. So he's 7 months. Another son. So
Mm-hmm.
lots of
Okay, lots of
boys.
boys, yeah.
Um, yeah, as we'll talk about later, probably in my story, I've got like life one, then life two.
Mm-hmm.
And so it
Yeah,
relates to the addiction story. But
yeah.
um
So you're
you
an
know I
LMFT. Are you based?
yes.
Are you like where are you based and do you have any certificates or specialties?
Yeah, so I am based in Las Vegas, Nevada. That's where I live now, but I'm from originally Washington State. So I have a
Yeah.
license in Washington, and we'll be talking about that one later. And I also have a license in Nevada.
Okay.
So both. And I don't necessarily have specialization certificates,
Mm-hmm.
but in the field we do lots of training. So I have lots of different areas I like to go, but my career started working with youth.
Yeah.
So I did a lot with kids and trauma.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about a lot today. And we're talking a lot about your therapist journey too. Where do you feel like maybe we should start with that?
Mm.
I know when we talk personally, you talk a lot about too, like grad school and not knowing the difficulties of becoming a therapist and like needing more supports.
Yeah, absolutely. We can go back a little
Sure.
bit if you
Yeah.
want to start kind of back in the day. So I've actually like a writer is always what I wanted to be. I
Okay.
was, yeah, so that was going to be my track. I was a journalism geek and photography. In high school, you could find me in the dark room or writing
Okay.
stories or doing graphic design on the computer. And what I liked about it was I wrote stories that were hard hitting. So I would, high school, you
Mm-hmm.
talk about date rape, that's a big deal.
Oh
You talk
wow.
about teens with depression, that's a big deal. So I tried, as like a early age, I noticed I liked psychology a lot. And so I would tell those stories.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Later in life, I decided to go into psychology because I liked how our minds developed and I wanted to kind of learn about kids, specifically in teens.
Mm-hmm.
And my tumultuous growing up years, of course, isn't that so like true that as therapists, we come into the field because we have a lot of stuff we got to work on,
Yep.
but we don't always know that.
Yep.
And so that's part of the story. Grew up really hard times, and wanted to help kids see the other side of that were also going through it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go to I go to my bachelor's degree. I switch from creative writing over to psychology. I start studying and doing my BS in psych at the University of Minnesota. So I lived there for several years, and just kind of went with the wind a little bit until I took abnormal psych, and that was it. Boom, that was it. I heard the stories about
Okay.
from my professor. Gosh, I remember her name, Bonnie Climes Dugan. Never gonna forget. And she was telling us stories about working in an inpatient hospital, the psych ward, and
Mm-hmm.
how they had to, restrain patients, and
Mm.
her stories about her borderline patients. And
Yep.
I was fascinated. And so that's what I did. I was like, I'm going to be a therapist. What do I need to do to
Mm-hmm.
work in a mental health hospital, working with people that are quote unquote insane?
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So, got my bachelor's degree, and then I jumped right into my master's. And I
Okay.
did that in Minnesota, and then we moved back to Washington. And so I switched over to do it at an online school, and that's kind of what happened with
Okay.
that part of where how the school landed. But
Mm-hmm.
as far as being in grad school, I didn't know how bad I was suffering with alcoholism
Mm-hmm.
and bipolar disorder.
Right. Right.
So I was going through it and trauma. I didn't know at the time how much trauma, um, even though I'm studying it, would
Right.
actually impact me in the
Right.
field later.
Right. And I really appreciate you bringing that up because I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't even realize that I came from an abusive alcoholic family until I was sitting in chemical dependency family therapy
Yeah,
class and I was like, "Oh my god," like it was such a like a light bulb moment and I think that
absolutely.
also right that goes into what we know is like a lot of people who come from abusive families don't know
Mhm.
because that's their reality and that's the norm.
Yeah, yeah, that's our reality and that's the norm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I remember sitting in grad school and, Miss Perfectionist always showed up to the T, like
Mhm.
cute outfits, hair done, makeup on,
Mhm.
always wanted to look the part. And I remember this girl would share in her classes. To me at the time, she was oversharing
Okay.
and then she would cry. And I would be like, damn, this girl's going to struggle. Like,
Mm.
she has no, she really shouldn't be practicing. I remember having these judgments,
Mhm.
but later realizing she was probably doing what she should be doing.
Right, she was doing the work.
She was maybe doing the work.
Yeah.
I think that in my experience, I wasn't really told to go to counseling. I
Mhm.
wasn't even, nothing about ourselves, the person of the therapist was approached that I recall. It was more
Yeah.
so make sure you're ethical at all times, make sure that you don't violate these rules, which of course, make sure that you're showing up and you're never talking about yourself. Self disclosure was like
Mhm.
a no, no.
Yeah.
And I've just found a lot of those classically trained therapy programs to really not be what works in the real world.
Right. Right. And once you become licensed and all the things, like you really, you get a feel for what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, you do. And as
Yeah.
your confidence grows, you start to feel better about what to say, what to share,
Mhm.
what might fit with someone and what won't. But I just remember kind of going into the field scared,
Yeah.
going to work scared, like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, there's so many rules of what I can't do. What the
Mhm.
hell can I do?
Mhm. And so that was kind of leading up into your like clinical hours post grad
Mhm.
school before
Right.
licensure. Okay. And
Yeah.
how was that experience?
I have to say my practicum was excellent.
Mhm.
I lived in Wenatchee, Washington, which is it's not small now, but it was kind of a small town. And I remember thinking, where am I going to work? Like, where am I going to do a practicum? There's maybe like three places here that do mental health.
Mm.
And so I reached out to Children's Home Society,
Okay.
and that's where I got to do my practicum. And I had the best supervisor right out of the gate for my first supervisor.
That's awesome.
She was really into attachment theory and
Cool. Yeah.
yes, and child parent psychotherapy and play therapy. So that was what I kind of got my feet wet in.
Mhm.
And it was working with kids that were either in foster care, um, in the juvie system, like at risk youth kids that were
Yep.
having some real hard times.
Mhm.
And I mean, that it led me to do my testifying in court once. Um, I mean, I've done countless CPS calls, like
Oh wow.
so much systemic connection
Yeah.
with these
Yeah.
kids, right? All these sources you got to work with. So have a lot of experience with that. But what's ironic is at that time in my own personal life, I was married, and he was a professional in the medical field.
Mhm.
And then I had two small children. And so what started happening for me was I was being traumatized at work by hearing all these stories, these
Mhm.
secondary traumatic
Yeah.
stories.
Yep.
And so, right. And so that came up a lot in my own sessions with my uh, supervisor.
Mhm.
And so she did a lot of work with us on our person. Like, how do you regulate yourself? What do you do?
Yeah.
And it's okay to like not know the answers.
Yeah. What
And
a
so,
well-rounded supervisor and not judge you too. Like say, well, nope, you're not fit for being a therapist or, like something like that where it's just this
absolutely.
all or nothing kind of deal.
Absolutely. And I remember I've always kind of been the one to speak up
Mhm.
or speak out and look around the room and nobody else is speaking up about anything that they were talking shit about 2 minutes earlier.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just not that person. And so
Mhm.
I got really, she promoted that. She was like, always ask questions, like, always, you're an important, valuable person and therapist,
Yeah.
but being the person and the therapist at the same time.
That is definitely something I value like in any supervisor is ask questions. Even if it's
Hmm.
research based, even if it's, empirical, ask questions. There's nothing wrong
Right.
with asking questions.
Well, why should I mean, and every time I've taken something face value, I feel like it bites me in my butt.
Mm-hmm.
I got to get deeper and ask the questions,
Yeah.
whatever it is. And so
Yeah.
it was a good out of the gate experience. And she left, after a while. The job got a lot for her too. And I just remember over a few years, like after she had left, the support was different. It
Mm-hmm.
became more, oh gosh, what would we say? Corporate?
Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Let's check off the boxes. Let's check off the boxes.
Are you meeting your quota?
Yes, are you me? And I never hit productivity
Yeah.
standards
Yeah.
ever. I have small kids. Like my job was to get them to school, pick them up every day. I mean, it was super, super stressful at that time. So
Mm-hmm.
I was always getting talked to about productivity. And I'm like, I don't know what else you want me to do. But I would be so stressed out about it. And
Yeah.
I
And
couldn't
is
get
that
fired.
true um productive supervision when you're not licensed to focus on not your work, not your clinical work, but oh, are you meeting productivity?
Right. I don't think it
So,
really matters. It's like what is kind of the depth of the work you're doing with the cases
right.
that you have, and
Exactly.
let's think about the cases you have.
Exactly. To
Okay.
me, that's more administrative. That's an administrative thing and not waste your valuable supervision time.
Exactly.
So it
Yeah.
sounds like being clinical trainee, there was some bumps in the road later on,
Yeah.
and then I'm assuming, fully got licensed after that.
Yes. Yes. So I finished out there. I worked there about 3 years, and I was very stressed out. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, I was having a hard time being the wife, being the mom,
Mm-hmm.
showing up at all these things, trying to be somebody I because at that time I was married to someone and we were living a higher status life. And that just wasn't me. Like that, I just didn't fit in with
Okay.
that group of people.
Yeah.
And so I was battling identity a lot. And then feeling really good in the work I was doing though. Like this is what I should be doing. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing all the shit that happens to these kids. And now I'm scared it's gonna happen to my kids. And
Mm-hmm.
so every day kind of feeling like I'm re-experiencing every time I go home, which affected my life. And I started drinking more
Okay.
at that point in time. I always knew I didn't have a healthy relationship with
Mm-hmm.
alcohol, but I didn't know how bad it was. And
Okay.
so I started drinking at night when I got home from work to try to cope with, the transition from high intensity work to boom, be mom, be in the moment, cook dinner, be okay. I had a really hard time with that transition and I didn't have support in my personal life. It was always suck it up and deal with it, suck it up and deal with it. And I just, as a empath person who also has mood shit, like
Mm-hmm.
I needed some help and I didn't know how to ask for help and I didn't know what to do. So I just started to drink pretty much every night
Okay. Do
to
you mind
cope
me
with it.
asking what your relationship with alcohol looked like before that, though?
Oh, sure. Yeah, for sure. So blackout drinker,
Okay.
always a blackout drinker. First time I
Yeah.
ever got drunk, blackout. Second time I got drunk, alcohol poisoning in the hospital, age
Mm,
16. Did Parents are out of town. I go wild. Next thing you know, they're getting a call that I was in the hospital.
wow.
So, but never talked to about it after that. Like that, if I could go back in time and have a conversation with my parents, I think there should have, rather than getting so punished, I should have probably been talked to about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, this is a thing that happens with teens, or, alcohol is a thing. Like, that's not normal to black out like that and drink like that. But instead, it was just kind of seen as a behavioral issue that would be changed later. So as soon as I got out of the house, I mean, it was like balls to the wall. Drinking is what
Yeah.
but maintaining school a little bit and maintaining a job, yeah. But every time I drank, I got blacked out. But I did not know that that was not okay. Like,
Right.
I
To
thought
you,
that
that
was
was the
what you
norm.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, why
Yeah.
not? I'm trying to change. I like how it feels. I'm more social this way. I don't feel so worried about what people think of me. I'm just going to keep doing this. And now I'm Amberly who can talk all night long,
Mm-hmm.
and be a comfortable
Right.
person. So,
Obviously, there was underlying stuff. And two, that
mhm.
wasn't talked about. And that wasn't like, well, maybe you should go to your own therapy and
No,
work out what's
never.
going on.
Yeah, never. So fast forward a couple years later, I'm 24 and I was or hospitalized twice in 3 months
Mm-hmm.
for alcohol poisoning again.
Wow.
I remember very vividly. sitting in the hospital after the last one, and the talking nobody would answer the phone at this point. Nobody would answer the phone to come pick me up. I'm downtown Seattle. I live 30 minutes
Mm.
away, kind of stuck, right? Like I'm in the hospital downtown. How am I gonna get home? Finally, my sister answers, and she was the one who was with me when I was 16 in the hospital too. So here we go again. And I just remember crying, and I would always feel guilt, shame, and remorse. And I
Mhm.
remember crying and saying, nobody, I don't like my boyfriend won't answer the phone. Like my friends fucking ditched me. They went home. Can you come get me? And she said yes, and she did. And I remember saying it happened again, and the nurse having a heart to heart with me and telling me, like, again, like, you should get some help. Like, this isn't
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah.
You have a lot of potential. Like, you seem like a nice person. And I just was not in a place to hear it. So 24 blew it off, continued to go down my path,
Mhm.
and then got pregnant. And so I had my first child at 26, and things kind of, simmered down a little bit, but it just always came back to haunt me. I
Right.
just don't drink like a regular person. I'm not an alcoholic.
Kind of like the cycle continued.
Cycle continued.
Yeah.
And I did not realize how much it was impacting my mood, like my bipolar disorder either.
Okay.
Even though we start studying it later, right? It's
Right.
just so, I'm the classic example of help others, can't help self
Yep. Right.
before.
Right.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you mind sharing like what happened with your mood or how that presented?
Yeah. Like at that time.
Yeah.
Um, Really up and down. So if you're a therapist out there, or anyone that knows bipolar disorder, we know that there's a couple different kinds. So type 2 was what I was diagnosed with,
Okay.
and I remember blowing it off. I was like, I'm not, nope, 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 I don't know what to do with that. I don't like that. That's scary, bad outcomes. I do not do this, right?
Right.
But type 2 is what they said, and I would just have high highs. So I would feel elated. I always say it's like a little pep in your step. Like,
Mm.
not full blown, manic sprees, shopping sprees, and in mania, but pep in my step. I would probably call people more. I'd reach
Mm.
out to people more, get a little more social. Like, oh, I have 10 people to check in with. Now I'm doing it. Hello, hello, hello. Check in with everybody. Take on more projects. So I might be doing creative writing. I might be, oh my gosh, now I'm going to be a photographer. Oh my God. Oh, okay. Now I want to start doing house designs. Like, it was all over the place, and I didn't know what was happening. I couldn't manage it. My sleep would get
Mhm.
messed up, so I'd wake up. If I was in a mixed, like a hypomanic episode, I'd get up at like 4 in the morning. I'd go to bed at like 10, 11.
Mhm.
Doesn't seem so bad, but over time it starts to kind of add up, and you get a little sleep deprived.
Yep.
Um, and drinking was always the thing, or any sort of like anything that was, bad, or like cocaine. I mean, I did cocaine a few times too. Anything that would be kind of, I guess we call it goal directed
Mm.
in treatment, goal directed activities. And then my personal life would kind of, people in my life didn't really know how to react to that because I was quick to fly off the handle, quick to accuse people of things,
Okay.
angry, angry, but
Yeah.
hard to know if it was trauma haunting me and the alcohol or what it was. So,
Right. Right.
yeah.
When did
hmm
you officially get diagnosed?
I was 24.
Okay.
So it was right after that hospital. I
Okay.
was like, fine, fuck, sorry, I swore. I was like, fine, I'll go to the doctor and I'll see what they have to say.
Mhm.
And that's what they said. It sounds like you have an alcohol issue, and maybe bipolar. Because
Right.
I would also fall into those very low lows,
Right.
very low lows. Like, could hardly get out of bed. I might miss work, excessive, disgusting loneliness,
Mhm.
and just suicidal. Yeah. So 24. And I didn't accept it, I think, until maybe my mid 30s.
Okay.
So pretty
So
recent.
26, you're because you were saying you were 26, you're starting to struggle more, drinking
hmm
more. What happened?
Um,
Like what happened
26.
next?
Okay. So then I go to grad school. At this time, too, I'm in my ex husband's in school. Also, I'm in school. My baby's getting older. He's starting to be about 2 years old at this point. Um, Continue to drink, but continue to manage school.
Mm-hmm.
Not thinking there's not a problem there, right?
Right.
I could drink normal some days, and I could go a week or two without drinking. So that was, not, I don't have a problem. Go to grad school, and then I just get really overwhelmed at one point. Um, I'm in DBT. That's good to know. I was in intensive
Okay.
DBT at that time because I was like, well, something's up here and I need to get some help. So I did. I had a therapist for many years there and did the DBT program. But I just couldn't shake this inner feeling of like something's wrong with me, something's
Mm.
off, and I don't think I actually have a future. I couldn't see myself in the future. So that
Yeah.
foreshortened sense of future thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Chronically suicidal, any problem that went bad, I'm going to kill myself, right back to that. And at this time, I was pretty heavily medicated.
Okay.
So I was on, um, mood stabilizers.
Yep.
I was taking an ADHD med. I didn't wasn't even diagnosed with ADHD. I
Wow.
don't know how I was able to manage to get that.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
and I was prescribed benzos to
Okay.
like
Wow.
I got anything I wanted. I was really good at talking to the psych nurse about what I needed because it was so
Mm-hmm.
helpful and I was really struggling. So I had Valium, I had Xanax. Nobody needs Valium on the regular. And 2013, I decided after a fight with my husband at the time and just felt like I was a shitty mom and I was not doing well. And I decided to kill myself. So I went in the
Mm.
bathroom and I took an entire bottle of Ambien and a bunch of Valium. Also had been drinking and I passed out. And that's one of my stories on Substack
Yeah.
recently talked about
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
and how it was like the minute I realized I was starting to go out, how much I regretted it
Yeah.
and just wanted to take it back.
Yeah.
So that happened, and then um, after I got out of the hospital that time, I was like, I will never do that again. It scared my child.
Mm-hmm.
I scared all the people in my life. I don't want to live like that. So I
Who
got off,
found you? Or
oh, yeah, it was my best friend. She was my
okay.
best friend at the time. She was visiting and she came in the bathroom because she was like, is this normal? Is she usually in the bathroom? Because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't say a word. I just
Oh,
had,
okay.
yeah, I had my pills stashed and I just was like, yep, this is that moment I've been waiting
Yeah.
for. So I go up to my shelf, grab my bottle of pills, go in the bathroom and do it. And she came in there and as soon as we started talking, I boom passed out.
Right.
So, yeah. So then they called, of course, I went to the hospital. And then I came out of that like, oh my God, I'm never going to be a therapist. Like, what the hell? I'm in the middle of my program. I'm never going to be able to do this. My whole life is over. And I remember thinking, I don't want to be gone, but I don't know how to live. And I stayed sober for about 3 months and I felt really good.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then I went back to it, always went back to it.
Yeah. It seems like there was like a bunch of push and pull between nothing's wrong and things are wrong.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it. There was a lot of polarizing.
Yeah.
Really good, really bad, really good, really bad, back and forth all the time. I just had such a hard time managing life. Didn't
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to live, and I didn't know later that that's because I'm an addict.
Right.
I'm an
Right.
alcoholic.
You
I,
didn't
I
have
don't know
that
how to live.
identity yet for
Right.
yourself.
And I was certainly not going to own it.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
certainly not. Yeah.
Yeah.
So did okay for a little bit. Drinking kind of peaked back in, but it was super manageable. Got pregnant with my second son. We moved back out to Washington. Things are going pretty good. I
Mm-hmm.
think I've got a grip on life, but I'm still having these lows. I don't know what's going on. It's like nothing can make me happy. And at that time too, what I know now is after having kind of some spiritual awakening stuff, that my soul was dead. Like my soul was
Mm.
quiet. My soul wasn't awakened yet, and I was not living the purpose or path I was really supposed to be on.
Yeah.
Like forever, I was meant to do that at that time to
Yeah.
leave me where I am, but it was my soul kind of crying out.
Yeah. Absolutely. Do you feel like you hit a rock bottom that they always say, like in,
Yeah.
recovery and things
Like
like
what
that?
was the rock bottom? Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. So I'd say I've had several, but We can fast forward to like, boom, what really happened
Okay.
if
Yeah.
you want to.
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, if you have anything else to add up leading up to that.
Well, I think leading up to that, I should mention, I left that job. So I left Children's Home Society.
Mm-hmm.
I decide I'm going to just blow up my life. We get divorced, move out on my own. Now, single mom raising two young, small children, helping them navigate that. I quit my job and go on to work at a crisis
Wow.
stabilization unit, right? All
Very
at once,
intense work.
like
Yeah.
within
Wow. Yeah.
days.
That is a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, I didn't realize at the time. I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be wonderful. This is the answer, right?
Right. Every single thing of every one of those is a lot in its own. A divorce, moving, a new job.
Yes. I remember thinking, oh, it's going to be, I got this.
Oh,
And
okay.
I did kind
Yeah.
of, but I was coping very poorly.
Yeah.
My mom at that time too was suffering with pancreatic cancer. So we didn't know how long she had to live. And
Mm.
so that was the crux for me. It was really, I could not deal with that. It was extremely painful. And so that happened. And I start working as the only therapist at this crisis unit.
Oh
That's
my
about,
gosh. Were you
was
licensed
starting
at the time too, or?
I was getting my license.
Okay.
I think at that time I was going to get it in like 2 months. I just needed a few more
Okay.
hours.
Because I was gonna say that's a
So,
lot for someone who, just like alone, like you're
yeah, it was a
clinical
lot.
trainee or whatever. Like that's a lot, but
It was. So it was we were starting from ground up. I mean, building nothing was in it when I started. Number 3 employee hired. Like it was grassroots level there.
hmm.
And I worked under this psychologist. She was really well educated and great, but she noticed something was wrong with me. She was like, "You disappear for hours on end."
Hmm.
Like truly at that time, I wasn't disappearing to, she thought I was going to get high.
Oh.
I wasn't. I was going to counseling appointments. I was going to the divorce court. I
Mm-hmm.
was visiting my kids at school to make sure they were
Right.
okay. I had just been moving. I mean, my whole life got turned upside down. She didn't
Absolutely.
really know that, but to be fair, I was drinking at night and I was taking Xanax to in the morning to cope with the shakes. So
Mm-hmm.
she wasn't totally wrong, but wasn't disappearing to to do what she thought I was doing. So anyway, a couple months later, I have a massive rock bottom moment and she finds out about it, or I tell her. I don't remember what happened. And this is like work bleeding into personal life,
Absolutely. Yeah.
right? 100%. Probably a little bit too much. Like it wasn't,
Hmm.
certain questions probably didn't need to be asked from a supervisor perspective. But she cared about me and she wanted to see me do well, and she thought I was going to be a great therapist working there. So she tried to help me, and I remember having a serious conversation with me, like, you could lose your license someday.
Mm.
You can't be, what you're doing isn't matching who you are at work,
Right.
that sort of thing. Because I mean, you want me to do something, I'll show up and I will do it for you 100%. But that was another person in my life who, at that time, I kind of got it, but I didn't really get it
Hmm.
until years later.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Interesting that at that time it didn't really click just yet.
no, no. And I think it was because I had already decided I need to stop drinking again. Okay, I need to stop drinking again. And now my work's starting to ask me questions like, why are you that tired at work?
Okay.
Things like that. And so
Felt like
I
a
did,
magnifier on you.
yeah,
You're like,
totally.
okay, nope.
Exactly. So went well for a few months, did 4 months of sobriety again, but I didn't do anything with it. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't get help anywhere. I wasn't going to counseling. I certainly wasn't going to go to the 12-step program. That was not for me. I was better than that. Yet, working in a crisis hospital helping people who were addicts,
Right. Talk about
right?
irony.
Irony, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. No way that could be me. I'm not that bad.
I'm not that bad. I have a job. I have
Mm-hmm.
a nice car. I have a
You have a
house. I
master's
take care of my
degree. Yeah.
kids. I have a master's degree, for crying out loud.
Right.
Yeah. So I wasn't willing to really look at myself. And I think in my mind, I knew it was temporary. I'd go
Mm.
back to drinking when I learned how to control it. So what do? I go back to drinking 4 months later. Boom. Same stuff happens. They always say it always gets worse and it never gets better. And that is
Yeah.
very true.
Yeah. That's a really good way to put it. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I don't drink like a normal person. I don't use drugs like a normal person. Who does? But I don't, I can't stop once I
Mm-hmm.
start. You put it in me and I don't know we don't know what'll happen, but it's probably not gonna be very good.
Right.
Yeah. So I do that. I worked there for several years, and this is the place you and I had a conversation about where I was kind of the whistleblower.
Yep.
I ended up, so here we go. I was promoted to supervisor, clinical supervisor, and ran this place with a couple other folks. And we were pretty green. We were like newly licensed in our field, didn't really know. We were trying to follow guidance, and corporate, which just wasn't super helpful. And the executive director at the time was pretty abusive. And
Yep.
so this resulted in trauma from work, lots of staff being traumatized, people terrified of her. And I decided enough was enough, and we're going to say something to
Mm-hmm.
CEO.
Mm-hmm.
So gather up people, get all these letters together, speaking to the abuse. We
Yep.
show video about it that she got caught doing. Um, we personally write letters, and I'm genuinely concerned about her mental health because suicide and hurt was a part of her vocabulary every day. If we didn't do something she wanted, it was I'm suicidal. That's not okay.
Yeah.
So we bring
Yep.
it up. She does get walked off the property, but not a lot changes at the facility. And so I end up leaving. Simultaneously was trying to build a private practice. So
Yeah.
left, launched into that. This is the midst of COVID 2020.
Yep.
Another big life change during COVID.
Absolutely.
Yeah, really
And
stressful.
to just go, just to go through with having people in power abuse that power, and
Hmm.
and then on top of it being in a mental health field.
I know. I know. I mean, at least I hid mine.
Okay.
Kind of. Yeah, for the most part, right? But it's like, yeah, that was it was scary to go to work. I remember feeling stressed all the time. Like, whose job's on the chopping block today?
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to get yelled at today?
Yep.
How are we going to get gaslit now?
Yep.
There's
Yep.
all
You
sorts.
just
It was
walk in
scary,
and your stomach drops.
pretty much.
Yeah.
And then I stopped being so scared. And I was like, we need to all pull together and make some change because our clients aren't going to be, they're going to suffer because we are not doing well. How can we
Mm-hmm.
take care of other people?
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of change, but I ended up leaving, and I ended up having my own mental health crisis kind of at the end of that. That
Mm-hmm.
resulted in me going to the ER. And I remember I'd been struggling that year. My mom had died. Huge, huge stress and sadness on me, and navigating still my kids and this high career and being on
Mm-hmm.
call 24/7. It was just too much pressure for me.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't keep the balls juggled anymore. And so I had started drinking a lot more again. And I met a guy that was supposedly in recovery and really wasn't. And so he introduced me to some hard drugs. And
Mm-hmm.
so I started using with him and kind of just thought, eh, whatever. But what I see now is, oh my gosh, my use was escalating.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
I'm a therapist in private practice working at home during COVID
Mm-hmm.
using illegal drugs.
Right.
Yeah. And drinking every night.
Right.
Yes. And dating a dude who was very dangerous. Like, none of this matches what I was trying to help
Yeah.
other people with at all.
Yeah. The cognitive dissonance. Just so.
Cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
Huge, huge. Such a
Yeah. What a
problem. And I
gap.
just
Hmm.
know
What do you think contributed to that at the time?
which part.
Just that, like, that gap of like you're helping people, but then you're not like
Mm,
admitting your, you know,
mhm.
this dangerous
Like,
behavior and like this behavior is
mhm.
going on.
Oh gosh, a couple of things. So one, I thought it was a phase.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah. I'll
Okay.
grow out of this. I'm going to grow out of this phase. It's just COVID. It's just stressful. Another was, well, which goes with that is I'll get a grip on it.
I can quit
Just let,
anytime.
I can quit anytime.
Yeah.
I've got this. Another was if I asked for help, what does that mean for my profession? Am I going to lose my license?
Mm,
If I admit to all these things that I'm doing that I shouldn't be doing, even if I say I have bipolar disorder and I'm really struggling, am I going to lose my license?
right.
Right? Am I
Yeah.
going to be punished?
Yeah.
And the truth is, yeah, you're probably going to be punished. And that did happen.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get into that. But I think other parts too was just life was going so much faster than I was able to kind of keep up. And I needed to support my two kids. I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
quit work. Like I couldn't go work somewhere else. Of course, I couldn't. I wouldn't be able to pay the bills. I
Right.
mean, it was already hard enough as it was. What does it mean if I let go of substances? Like, what am I going to do with my free time? How am I
Yeah.
going to cope with all this stuff I'm going through? Yeah,
That is a lot. Yeah.
just ask. Yeah, I know.
But it
Just ask
also
me
is
for
like
help.
you're just like digging the hole deeper at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, a couple months later, after another few ER visits, I started to get to kind of be known in my community.
Mm.
Um, I went to the ER like 4 times that summer of 2020, and it was always go back home. You've got support. You know what to do. Keep it up, right? And so I kind of got for myself like, yes, it was my issue, and I know that now. But at the time, it kind of reinforced, oh, I'm okay. I can
Right.
still do this.
Do you
I
feel
got
like
this.
it was kind of like, well, you're a therapist, like you know how to, you know the drill, like go get help, go to inpatient, partial hospitalization if you have to, or whatever.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're a therapist, you have it all figured out. Like, you
Yeah,
know what to do.
you got yeah, you got this. You know what's going on. And then the final time I went, I was having suicidal issues
Mm.
going on, and I just all I was thinking was off I got to go to work tomorrow. I got to be able to work tomorrow.
Right.
I got to be able to bring in money. I got to be able to meet with my clients so I don't get a bad reputation. I
Right.
can't go to the hospital. I can't go to the hospital. And they were like, "You're going to the hospital. You're suicidal. We can't not let you go." And so I did, and that's when I went to inpatient.
That's
I was
interesting when, they still said you had to go to inpatient even though like your protective factor kind of was work.
I, I know, I
So,
know. It's like my protective and killer a little bit,
right. Yeah, double-edged sword.
double-edged sword. So I go to inpatient. This is October 2020. Um, Terrified I'm going to get found out by the board, right? So I'm sitting in my little jumpsuit of the gray sweats and the sweatshirt, and I wasn't wearing shoes, and I just got kind of comfortable. I was like, this feels actually kind of good. I don't have to worry about anything for the first
Yeah.
time in my entire life.
Yeah. Finally get a
Just
break.
myself. Finally get a break. So I do that, and I remember sitting in my bed and just crying and writing and thinking, oh my gosh, how am I in kind of this position again? What am I going to do? I feel so alone. The one person I have in my life left is a drug guy. Like
Mhm.
he moved in with me. How am I going to get him out of here? Do I even want him to go? I don't
Yeah.
have any. I've lost my friends. Um, my kids. I'm so concerned about them.
Mhm.
And I go and sit in the court, the detained court in the inpatient. And they're like, I said, I surrender. I need help. I need something. And they were like, okay, good. You get 3 days and then you'll go home. So I do what I'm supposed to do. And I go home. And no kidding, 3 weeks later, I'm using again.
Okay.
I'm with the dude, and my kids are at their dad's. And I'm like, let's have some fun. I'll stop tomorrow. I could never stop.
Yeah. Do you think at that point you realized like I have a problem or
Yes.
okay.
Yes, yes. I think I was like, this is bad. Like this is dangerous territory.
Uh-huh.
Like I'm missing days of work. I don't have any good friendships. I've pushed them away or they've dropped me.
Mhm.
My only relationship was with my methamphetamine boyfriend, user
Right.
boyfriend. We're
Right.
using together methamphetamine, which is like to me the drug I was like, I'll never touch. That's such a dirty drug. I'm not dirty. I'm a pristine wine drinker who hangs out with therapists.
Yeah.
Yet there was a part of me that felt comfortable better hanging out with people that were using because I felt like I could be myself.
Right.
I didn't
Yeah.
have to hide anything.
Yeah.
That's the irony there. And it kind of kept me in it.
Mhm.
I was like the best F up of all in that room. So I could kind of,
That's one way to put it.
I guess, right? And then, yeah, that just went on for a little bit. And that relationship, tough year, 2020, 2021, really rough years. I ended up getting arrested for domestic violence
Mm.
later, like in May. And because he and I were going at it, right? We were fighting, and there'd been several other incidents of him putting his hands on me, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one to sit back and be quiet. I fight back.
Yeah.
And this time I was the one that fought back, but was kind of the one that went to jail.
Okay.
So then I'm in my local jail, my local community jail, like, hi guys, hi clients. Here I am.
Yep.
I'm losing my mind. I mean, this is when I can say I was starting to truly go psychotic
Mm. What do you
while
mean when you
still,
say that?
like, I was not living in reality. I was living, like, in the program we say it's living in the delusion,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
right? Like, I'm living in the delusion that what I'm doing is normal and healthy and okay, but yet part of me knows it isn't. And I'm living in the delusion that I'm never wrong, and, like, justifying what I'm doing when that's not okay. It's not okay. And still thinking one day I'll just quit. This is just a phase. It wasn't.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was a really, oh my gosh, that was awful. I
Yeah.
remember it.
Yeah.
And I
And what an eye
refused,
opener, too.
eye opener for sure. I refused to stay in that jail. I was like, nope, I'm getting bailed out tonight. And I did. I bailed myself out of there with the bail bondsman. And
Okay.
because I was a therapist, he was
Oh,
like, oh,
really?
you're good for this. So,
Wow. Talk
mhm.
about how many systems at play. We're like, well, you're a therapist. I mean,
I don't look the part. I
yeah.
don't look like an addict, right? I don't look like someone dangerous or homeless. Those stigmas are so not true.
Yeah.
So not true. I still looked fine.
Right.
Yeah, even though I'm screaming, and I would scream at people, and I was, anger quick to anger, and I mean, I certainly don't go up without a fight. So that's kind of the psychotic part of it.
But he didn't get a charge at that time.
Oh no, no, no,
Okay.
no. He was a classic charmer sociopath who um, can charm and trick people.
Yeah.
It was chaos the minute until they show up, the cops, right? And he is then,
Yep.
oh my gosh, I don't know what's going on with her. She does have bipolar disorder, so she put her hands on me. She ripped my necklace, scratched me. Meanwhile, 5 minutes later, I'm on the floor being choked out to death, thinking I'm
Yeah.
going to die.
Yeah.
So that to me was an unforgivable experience, and the law enforcement in that town failed me that day.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
they should have known better.
Such narcissistic abuse.
Horrible, horrible. I'll never forgive some. I shouldn't say that. I'm very forgiving about things now, and I do know I had a big role to play, but that was an injustice for me
Mm-hmm.
and perpetuated why. And I remember telling the female cop that arrested me, "This is why I don't ask for help. This is why women do not call 911, because you're tricked by this guy over here."
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Reactive abuse. I mean, really.
mhm, reactive abuse. Yeah, it was terrible. So that was that. You would think that was the last of it, right? But it wasn't. So we end up having another blowout a few weeks later
So
because,
you
of
get
course,
back together.
yes. Oh, I'm not done.
Okay.
Right?
Right. Right. And that's,
I
that
don't
is
get
the
it
cycle.
when I look back at it, and I think it was just like we had some sort of sick attachment obsession
Totally.
that was so strange. And, like, if we wanted to go the spiritual route, I know for a fact him and I have a soul contract, some
Mm.
sort of karmic contract and relationship from before, and we were supposed to meet to, like, launch growth within each other.
Yeah.
I don't know where he's at now. Don't want to know.
Right.
But what I do know is that that was the catalyst for me to get my shit together.
Yeah. So you get back together and you're out of jail. What
Hmm.
happens next?
Yeah, so he had moved out, and so we were trying to kind of still be together, but living in separate
Mm-hmm.
places. Um, Take my kids to go visit the guy, because they actually, what was weird was they had a very close relationship. Like,
Hmm.
this guy was never mean to my children
Right.
that I knew, right? He was not mean to them. He had an okay side, and the kids kind of liked him. And so I was like, oh, well, we'll go see him. We just can't drink like normal people. We can't be regular. So there's fighting. Week later, I'm trying to move out of my place because I essentially get kicked out of where I'm living because there was too many cop visits, and
Mm-hmm.
the guy at the time had some bad reputation around there. And so I'm trying to move as well into a new place, and he ends up Oh gosh, are you ready for this mini story?
Yeah.
Okay. So he and I get together and the kids are at their dad's, and we're packing up the place and we decide, let's go to the bar. Like,
Hmm.
okay, go to the bar. We'd stopped using crystal meth together. We go to the bar. We're like, well, at least we're not getting high, right?
Right.
Well, 20 drinks in and we're pretty drunk. We come home and we start fighting and arguing. And there was something about another guy that had reached out to me and he got upset about that. And he beat up my apartment,
Mm.
my townhome at the time. He took a baseball bat, beat up the walls, um, broke some of my stuff, threw my phone on the ground, of course, and it says some pretty awful things. And so I decide when he gets in the car to leave and drive away, I'm going to get in the car with him. This dude is not getting away this time.
Mm.
I don't care what it takes, but he will be going to jail today. And that did happen. So he tried to drive us into traffic going 60 down a 15-mile-an-hour road, took my seatbelt off of me, told me I was never going to see my kids again, and today was the day I was going to die.
Wow.
So he at last minute didn't do it, but also someone had got him on camera with all this and hitting me a couple of times and stuff. So I was done.
Yeah.
That's what it took, I guess.
Yeah.
And so he did go to jail. A little bit later, the like next night or something, I come home and I find that my ceilings caved in my closet and
Hmm.
someone had fallen through it.
Oh my God.
It was him. He left his discharge paperwork, release paperwork on the ground.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I still think, where's my Dateline story? I'm like, it could have been a Dateline situation. He was really mad at me,
Yeah.
really angry. And then I've never seen him since. So
Huh.
ever since he's been gone. And then fast forward, moving into a new apartment, still trying to work as a therapist. Um, get a complaint from the licensing board. He reported me. Now the fear, right? I'm getting fearful of
Yeah.
here it's coming. It's all coming down. This is what I was worried about. This is what I've been warned about. What
Mm-hmm.
am I going to do? So that's a different little story we can get into if you want. But I just want to say that year 2021, 2022 was really rough. I was alone a lot. And that's when
Yeah.
my drinking progressed and I was drinking in the mornings
Yeah.
and I was
Absolutely.
drinking every day. And that's all I cared about. And then I went to rehab in July of that year. So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
So that was really your breaking point.
I think so. I think
Yeah.
so. I mean, that was one of them. I continued to drink through that year and I had so many interpersonal problems and
Mm-hmm.
it was not good. And my kids ended up having to kind of start taking care of themselves and they saw me
Okay.
drunk too many times.
Yeah.
Um, when I didn't have them, I would be often using and I just couldn't escape it.
Yeah.
So it came down in June 2022. I had gotten into an altercation outside a bar and that was filmed and someone submitted that to the Department of Health and that's what got me kind of popped.
Not his report.
His report was part of it, but
Okay.
it wasn't as much weight held, I think,
Hmm.
because he was a boyfriend, right? He was an ex.
Right. Right.
So I said some of when I finally was truthful and I stopped hiding, I said, yeah, some of the things he said were true, but like some of them really weren't.
Right. Okay.
But the fight outside, that was video. Yeah, I mean, 100% I did that. So, but then I was in treatment by the time DOH came at me.
Okay.
So I was like, well, yeah, I've given up the ghost
So
at this
really
point.
just everything was coming to a head.
Yes, I would say so.
Yeah. So the
Yeah,
board, we can get into that now. Like, so the board
yeah,
comes in and they have, when you get a complaint from the board says these are all the allegations against you. Please tell
yes.
your side of the story. I'm
Hmm.
assuming that was for you. And so did
Hmm.
you have to write back and respond? And
I did, yeah.
yeah.
So there was actually three reports in total against my license.
Okay.
First one was in 2020 after that hospital stay
Mm-hmm.
because it was oof, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but it was someone I dated had interviewed me in the hospital
Hmm.
and said, "Oh no, you're good to go. You can go home." Right.
Yeah.
So I had asked the hospital, "Please don't let it be this person. I
Yeah.
don't want him to evaluate me," and it was this person.
Right.
And so someone reported him for that because it's dual relationship, right?
Absolutely it is.
So then I have to respond to that and also respond to why I was in the hospital and what I've done to change it.
Okay.
Okay. Don't hear anything. Nothing. Nothing. No
Yep.
response. Nothing. 8 months later, this event happens. Ex boyfriend reports me for substance use. Um, I get the call. Hey, investigator, we need to talk. Okay, cool. Call him back. Terrified, shaking. Oh my God, this is it. Um, and answer their questions in a letter. So they always want you to respond with a letter,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Answering to every
Yep.
allegation. And also, what are you doing to better yourself? Like, what do you think? And they always ask, what do you think the board should do?
Yeah.
Right. And so that happened. And then nothing, hear nothing, nothing, nothing. Uh, Nearly a year goes by, have this last incident where I'm fighting in public and go to rehab. Finally, get called a couple months after the complaint. Hey, you got to submit another letter. So I do that, explaining the circumstances around that.
Hmm.
And this letter was drastically different than the other two
Okay.
because the other two, I wasn't owning up to my part, right? I was very blameful, very much ego, very much terrified to lose my license. So I'm going to defend myself at all costs.
Hmm.
No, I don't have a problem. No, I don't use drugs. No, I do drink, but not really.
Hmm.
Everything that is not true.
Right. Right.
And so that ends up happening. So by the time the third letter rolls around, I'm like, yep, that's me. Let me just be honest.
Okay. What changed you to like finally own up and
Well, it was that I finally surrendered to my addiction
yeah.
and my illness.
Yeah.
Like bipolar is playing a part of this. I drink because of the bipolar, and the bipolar I drink because of that. Like, it just kind of everything started to make sense. And the day I surrendered, I really surrendered. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I need real help. And yes, I'm willing to get help now. But I think the thing that helped me the most was surrendering to the outcome.
Mm.
Whatever happens, happens at this point. I
Completely
really,
let go.
yes. If I'm not a therapist again, so be it. If I'm not in the field, oh well, that's okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to let things go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once I was able to say out loud, I'm an addict and I've been struggling, and yes, I'm a person with bipolar disorder, I was able to say, like, okay, let's actually work on ourselves now.
Hmm.
So I wasn't
Yeah.
scared anymore
Yeah.
because I
What
wasn't hiding.
do you feel like that was the aha moment, or was it like a contribution of things
Aha moment being which part?
of like completely surrendering and deciding like I need
Yes.
to okay.
Yes, absolutely. I had realized the way I was living was only getting worse. And I just, no matter what I could do, I couldn't get better. Certainly couldn't do it on my own anymore. I needed to admit
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think it's so
definitely.
interesting too. I want to say like you get these two reports and
Hmm.
then you get into an altercation. Like I guess I'm kind of trying to understand that. And maybe there isn't any sense in that, but do you have
Yeah,
any
the
thoughts about
altercation.
yeah, like the fact that like you have these two board letters already and then there
Right,
isn't and then you get into a situation and I don't know the situation, but that could
right.
lead to another right report.
Yeah, well, I think that's living in the delusion, the
Okay.
psychotic part of it, right?
Okay.
That's my illness had, like, we're talking alcoholism here. My illness had progressed so much that I didn't know, like, I couldn't make the right decisions,
Yeah.
even if I wanted to, even if I had guilt, shame, and remorse the next day. And I'm also very reactive. So that's something I've had to work on in my personal life is not
Mhm.
being so reactive and
Mhm.
having coping strategies. And I'm very defensive,
Right.
used to be anyway. So at that point in time, I was dating somebody again, and he was like the only person I had again that I could kind of count on. And something had happened that was extremely hurtful to me, and I just snapped. And so it involved another female, so I went after her.
Mm.
That's what it was.
Okay.
And it was outside of a bar. I was very intoxicated, and I just was so hurt and upset
Mhm.
that I just reacted. And that's what my fight did. I don't freeze or
Yep.
often I do, and I don't often run. I definitely fight. And so
Right.
that's what I did. And I think at that time, I was so callous. Like, I had gotten so callous to the world. I didn't
Mm.
care. And I didn't think I'd get found out.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure that
I
contributed a
got
lot
away
to it
with
too.
everything else,
Right, right,
right?
right. I'm sure those reports were scary, and also at that time you were just so like nothing's gonna
Yeah,
come of it. Like
I'm employed.
it's been a
I don't have
year,
anything.
nothing's gonna happen. Wow.
Right. Because
Yeah.
I also never heard anything back.
Right.
So in my mind, I'm like, oh, it's done, right? I'm rationalizing. It's done. And so I'm thinking, I wasn't thinking. I mean,
Right.
that night was ridiculous. And so I look back at that and I realize, you know what? Thank God for that night, actually. Good. It's good that that happened
Hmm.
because that's what really got me to be accountable.
Wow.
Yeah. I was really upset at first, obviously very scared.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
By the time I heard about it, I was in rehab. I'd been in rehab for 3 months. I was like, I've given up everything. I've surrendered to everything.
mhm.
I have nothing left to lose. I'm going to tell the truth.
And talk about an ego death too. Like when
Yeah.
we as therapists, we become therapists, we work so hard, get a mastery, all the clinical training, all the things, and then to fully release like this might not be my identity anymore. Wow.
Exactly. That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah. I was willing to let it go. I
Yeah.
was willing to let what I was meant to be or who would be to happen.
Hmm.
But that's happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been actually, I'm so grateful for the journey and all the pain I went through. It's sad that I, had other people like my kids, right? That was the hardest part of this whole thing was that is a part of it too. I clung on for so long because I didn't want to leave my kids.
Mm.
At all costs, I was not going to let go. I was not going to do what my mom did to me and kind of abandon me.
Hmm.
I was going to be there all the time.
Right. Even say if inpatient lasted 3 6 months.
Hmm. I was
Yeah.
going to go back home. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was not willing to admit I needed help because I didn't want to upset them, lose them,
Right.
and I knew that would happen.
Right.
So once I finally stopped being so self-centered and said, I do have a problem and these kids deserve to be safe in a good place and not deal with my stuff anymore, then that I really realized I have to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really hard.
Yeah. And what a culmination of so many things to lead you to this kind of aha moment. It took a lot to get just to get there.
Oh, so much. I mean, that's just not even everything. I mean, I'm not going to sit
Right.
here and bore everyone with every
Right.
story, right?
Right. I'm sure there's so much more
There's a lot.
to
Yeah.
this. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Not to mention COVID, right? I
Oh,
mean, we as
yes.
therapists during COVID, I was busier than ever. I
Yeah.
somehow was managing it most of the time during that part of the year, but yeah, it was wild. That was a very difficult time.
Yeah. So you get treatment and then what was kind of now the fallout? Like so what was the fallout with like your kid? Like if you don't mind me sharing any of
Yeah.
that, like fallout
Oh
with your
no.
kids, your job, your license, things like that.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so let's start with kids. Oh gosh, June? It must have been late June. So late June is when of 2022 is when I was like, I'm done. Okay, I'm done. I, with shaking in my boots, call up my ex-husband's new wife
Mhm.
and tell her, who's a really nice person. I call her and I tell her what's going on. And they had seen it. They'd been
Yeah.
around. There'd been a
Yeah.
couple of police calls. They did a wellness call on me once. Like, of course I was pissed, but there was, they were like, ugh, something's up, And so I call her and I say, we all know I'm not doing well. Um, I need help. I surrender. I'm giving up. Like, this is not,
Mhm.
we all know I am not doing hot. And I said I've been drinking, but not only that, I've been using meth the past couple years off and on. And that was something I never thought I'd admit to someone who's has my kids' well-being, right? Because that's instant custody right removal. That's instant CPS calls. I
Mhm.
mean, geez, I used to work with those parents. Now I'm that parent.
Yeah.
How scary. But I was giving up because it was the best thing to do for these kids. And so she's like, okay, okay, she handled it really well. And I was like, but I'll get the kids today and I'm going to probably be leaving in the weekend. And she was like, okay. So then I guess she called my ex-husband and talked to him. But the unfortunate part of that day was after I did that, I was so sad
Mm,
and felt like, oh my God, my life is over. I just gave up my kids, kind
right.
of. I just said, I need you to take them for a while so I can go get help, but I'm going to come back. But can you do this? And I ended up getting so drunk that day
Mm,
that I called her and I said, I can't even pick Logan up, my youngest son. I can't even get him. And my oldest was at my house because it was the day I had the kids. And so my ex goes over there. This is a story I've heard, right? Goes over there, gets my oldest. My oldest doesn't want to leave. He's really upset, but then he does. And they go pick up my youngest, and my
mm-hmm.
youngest is like, where's my mom? I
Mm,
couldn't even do it for my children
yeah.
that day. Talk about powerlessness of alcohol being my total god.
Yep. Yep.
Horrible. So that happened, and I end up getting booked into a bed with American Addiction Centers. I'm supposed to leave July 3rd, check in July 3rd, check in July 3rd. I choose Las Vegas, Nevada, because the options were that or Atlanta, I think, Atlanta,
Oh,
Georgia, or
okay. Okay.
Texas. So I'm thinking, okay, Vegas is closer. I'm going to come home in 30 days. I don't want to go too far. So get my stuff booked. My dad's has stepped in at this point and he knows everything and he's helping me out, get everything coordinated to go. I'm getting like, you know, pet sitters. I'm getting trying to figure out what I can do to leave, and I'm coming back. I'm talking to my job at the time because
Mm-hmm.
meanwhile I'm fully employed as a therapist for a major company. And I'm telling them like I gotta go on leave. I have a drinking problem. I need to be on FMLA for a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
Right. So I do that. And I have this goodbye visit with my kids July 2nd. I go to it drunk, of course, because I can't not drink. I drink every day and I have to drink so I don't have seizures at this point or hopefully
Okay.
shoot
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
so
Yep.
bad.
Yep.
I was detoxing, right? So I got to always have it available in my body. And so I go, probably wasn't drunk, but I was, drinking, trashy person there. It probably smelled like vodka. And I have to say goodbye to my kids while my ex-husband and his wife are there. It's horrible. One of the worst days of my whole life. Talk about feeling like a failure. Talk about
Mm,
feeling like a really bad person.
absolutely. On
Really sad.
multiple levels, probably.
Exactly. Very
Yeah.
ashamed.
Yeah.
Feeling so sad for them. And oh my gosh, am I losing them?
Mm-hmm.
Um, they leave and I get, someone walks over to me, I don't know, and they serve me papers. And they serve me paper. Like as my kids are pulling away in a car, someone's
Mm,
walking over to me to serve me papers for custody being taken away.
wow.
I cried so hard. That was
Yeah.
that was the worst day of my life.
Your biggest fear coming into a reality, really.
Yes, biggest fear. Biggest fear. That, my license, right? Biggest fear. I would have lived 10,000 more days of hardship with that scary guy than
Yeah.
I would have to live that again
Yeah.
with my kids. They were my life.
Yeah.
They were my life. Even though it didn't seem like it, maybe to others at the time, they were the only reason I was alive. I promise you that.
Yeah.
So now I'm alone and I'm thinking I'm like really alone. This is horrible. So I'm drinking all day, right? My dad shows up. He's going to take me to the airport in the morning. And that's what happened. So that's what happened with the kids. And now, gosh, fast forward years later, things have changed quite a bit. And I ended up fighting to get custody back,
Mm-hmm.
to a degree, and was my own attorney in that battle.
Okay.
And we've arrived at an end gate here
Okay.
2 years later. And so we have a good relationship. I see them every few months. I fly up to Seattle,
Yeah.
Wenatchee, and see them, and they're going to get to come visit us in Vegas here pretty soon. And so, like that's a whole nother story.
Right.
The
Right.
repair and the healing of the ruptures with
Yeah.
these kids.
Yeah.
They've been like strong troopers,
Right.
and our
Having.
relationship is different, but they know everything, and
Mm,
I've done, on my amends.
right.
Yeah. So that happened with them, and then with the licensing situation, um, I guess I respond, right? I respond with that letter,
Yep.
and
Yep.
what happens happens. And 6 months into sobriety, I'm like, you know what? I want to get a job. I'm here in Vegas. I'm going to stay. So I get a job working at an inpatient hospital,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm doing court liaison work. So I'm working with the detained
Okay.
patients, getting up in front of the judge, talking about why they should not stay or why they
Mm-hmm.
should stay in the hospital. And then I finally get a letter in the mail that that year about, hey, we're still investigating your license.
Mm.
Here's what we need to do. So you need to show up for a psychological evaluation,
Mm.
and then we'll go from there. So I do it.
Interesting. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah. So 4, was it 4 years? Yeah, 3 years after the initial investigation opened. Now I'm finally seeing a psychologist
Hmm.
to be evaluated,
And
and
a
I do
full
that
psychological evaluation.
right, like 2 hours,
Yep.
a full thing,
Yeah.
right? So I'm honest. I tell the truth.
Yeah.
I answer all the questions,
Yeah.
and they come back. The attorney comes back for the state, comes back with me with okay. So this is August, January. I hear back. Think about that. How long that
Wow.
is.
Yeah.
And at this time, I'm like, well, I don't have anything against my license. I'm going to work. So I get hired for another company that I'm still with today, and they support my recovery 100%.
Totally.
Yeah. And so I got a job, and I'm like, well, what will be, will be. I'm just going to see, I'm still going to work. I also apply for my license in Nevada, tell the truth, get my license. So then January, they come back, 2024, come back with me, come to me with, hey, you need to be in the ramp. You either have a couple options here. You can do nothing, and we might come after you. Which, what does that mean? Come after me. You might get charged with something, or
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
might have to pay fines. You go into RAMP, Washington State Recovery and Monitoring Program for professionals, or you just don't, or you just give up your license
Forever.
forever.
Probably. Yeah.
Or, yeah, forever. I'm like, okay. And the irony here is the attorney was pushing me to give it up.
Hmm.
He was like, it'd be your better option. Just do that. You can maybe come back at it a couple years later. I'm like, no, I think I'm going to do ramp because
Wonder
I've come this
why
far.
he would
Isn't it
say
weird?
that.
Yeah. My experience with that is interesting too, because I remember him telling me, do you really think you're an alcoholic though? And I was
What's
like,
that supposed to
yeah,
mean?
I know. Because he would talk to me like personally about
Yeah.
stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is very strange. And I said, yeah, I'm definitely an addict. Like I'm in the program. I've done really well there maintaining sobriety. And he shared with me that he thinks he might be an alcoholic. And I'm like, this is the dude investigating me, telling me what I should do with my license? That makes no sense. So I
Okay.
kind of let it slide. What am I going to do? I mean, at that point. So I decided I'm going to enter ramp. And so ramp is basically you're monitored for however many years you're in it. So fortunately for me, I only got 3. Usually you
Okay.
get 5.
Okay. Oh, so like the standard is usually 5.
Yes, yeah. They
Okay.
think 5 years of sobriety is like good. 5 years of recovery, supposedly you're good. I'm
Right
like,
on.
what, you're gonna relapse? Not relapse after that? You could, but because I was already sober and I'd already went to treatment and I was doing the thing and I was approaching my second year of sobriety, they were like, we're gonna give you 3 years.
Okay.
So essentially, what this means is I used to be terrified of this. Now I don't care, obviously, in sharing it. But if you look at my license credential in Washington,
Yep.
it'll say under restriction, or there's like active conditions, is what it is. It's not restricted. I can still practice fully, and I can do virtual telehealth like I'm doing now. But I just have to have a supervisor or like
Mm-hmm.
someone who is willing to vouch for me and kind of submit a report every month
Hmm.
to my ramp case manager. I go to a peer group every week. So this is other professionals in the similar field that have substance use issues too.
Right.
And we're all at varying stages. Some are new, some have been in it for many years. And we connect every week. And then what is the other one? Oh, I have to check in Monday through Friday every morning to see if I'm randomly drug tested.
Oh, right on. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really, sure, I could fudge the test. I mean, I'm not going to. I like sobriety, but I mean, it's talk about being an accountability,
Mm-hmm.
it's an
Yeah.
accountability thing. And so I'm in 1 year out of 3, so I got 2 more years to go.
Do you, just out of curiosity, like what happens if you miss a meeting or something? Like,
Oh, okay, yeah. They let you miss a certain amount.
Oh, right on.
Yeah,
Okay.
every year you get like 6 to miss. So, as long as you're in pretty good communication with your people, like your case manager, you're pretty good.
It's
And
okay for me to say, like, that's not that bad. Like, that isn't
yeah,
as scary as you would think it would be.
no, totally. I thought I had this view that, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be employed. Oh my gosh, this is a lot. But when you
Hmm.
do it, it's really not. And most people are like, this is actually pretty good.
And maybe, I don't know for you, but like maybe even like I needed this kind of mentality,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
kind of support.
yeah. Well, I think I needed that even before,
Okay. Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah.
Like peer groups and things like that, maybe some support professionally.
I mean, even though you're a
Yeah,
therapist, like I feel like being a therapist adds that extra layer of things. And because it is, I personally, I feel like it is an identity. And so when you go to like a normal, like say AA meeting or whatever it is,
yeah.
then you have that added support. Like they get it. They're a therapist
Mhm.
too. They really understand those nuances.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it is super nice to have that. I
absolutely.
wouldn't I
Yeah.
wouldn't trade it for the world. So
Yeah.
it's certainly not as punitive. Like I've missed check-ins
Mhm.
and what I do is reach out to it's totally just because I got out of my routine or like I was really sick one day. But I reach out and I'll be like, hey, I recognize I missed this. I'm really sorry. But I always know I'm gonna be drug tested the next day.
Yeah.
So it's gets, you start to get used to it and it's not so bad to go in for a random testing or whatever. I'm not
Right.
worried
Right.
because I don't need to hide anymore.
So when you now, so you have a Nevada license too. Is that also
Mhm.
restricted or is that just full fine, whatever?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
it's as far as I know, it's full fine, and
Interesting.
isn't it? And so I thought the right thing to do would be to notify them. Like,
Right.
so they knew I had
Yeah.
investigations, and I had
Yep.
told them, I moved here because I had treatment and I stayed in Vegas, and so I got the reciprocity license, of course, because I've been in Washington for years. And I let them know. I sent an email to the proper LMFT board and let them know what's going on. Hey, I am in ramp. I haven't heard a peep back.
Hmm.
Nothing. So I'll probably reach out again just to make sure, hey, just a reminder, because
Yeah.
I'm willing to do what they need me to do too. But I think it's also because I never had an issue here in this state.
Yeah. I would have, I don't know. I don't know how that works.
I don't know either.
Yeah. That's really
As long,
interesting though.
I know, I
Or
feel like,
maybe it's like, well, you're in the program through them. Like, why does it matter for us?
yeah, I
I
think
don't know.
so.
But
Exactly. I think reaching out at least to let them know, and I will definitely follow up. I think every year I'll send, hey, I still on ramp. But yeah, nothing,
yeah.
nothing. So this big scary thing
Right.
turned into being not really that scary.
Right. Right.
And it's true. The DOH is looking out for the public safety.
Absolutely.
We
Absolutely.
get that, right? We're not supposed to cause harm. So for me to say I'm hungover in a session, not feeling good, am I causing direct harm? Probably not. But am I the best therapist? No. So could it be harmful? Maybe. I don't
Mhm.
know. I hope
Mhm.
not.
And who
But it's
knows,
just
like maybe if there was blind spots at that time, I don't know. But
exactly. Clearly, I was blind spotted in my own life. So
right.
it's like
Yeah.
who knows. So I
Yeah.
think I get that part, and I was willing to kind of be like, yeah, it's fair, it makes sense. So the funny thing is if you look at my license, you can click on the conditions and it shows you exactly what happened. So
Yeah.
it'll say, admitted to using controlled substance, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So the public is able to be aware of that, which
And
is
that's
mixed feelings about that.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also though, this can be a strength of yours.
Yes.
You've walked the walk.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know a heck of a lot more than I did when I was, sitting in the treatment center working 5 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
can relate a lot more. And what I do know is when somebody comes to me and they're really struggling with alcohol use, and you can tell they're ashamed to talk about it, and I give them just a little bit of self disclosure of, hey, look, I've been there too. I had to get well. I'm a
Mhm.
person in recovery. They honestly, the guard comes down and the light turns on.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, that's what I witnessed.
Oh, yeah.
And it's
Absolutely.
been made my job so much easier and better. And I feel like I'm living in my I'm living in my purpose.
You're
And
finally authentically living, is what it sounds like.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And if a client asks me a question, I tell them the truth.
right.
I
Why
I don't
dodge
play
it?
I don't play the game of this is about you, not me. I don't say that.
Yeah,
I think that's very awkward.
putting it back on them.
Yeah, just, I think it's okay to open up a little bit.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
we are people who have knowledge, sure,
yeah.
but I don't think I'm never going to be the person who sits there straight face, clipboard in hand, and if they're asked, "Have you ever had a hardship?" I'm going to say, "It's about you, not me." I'm just not that person, and
Yeah.
I would never want that to be my
What makes
therapist.
you want to know that information? What's leading you to want to know?
Yeah, that question.
Right, right.
Because why would they? Because they want to know you're a human being,
Mm-hmm.
right? Who struggled or got not, you're also a person like here's the thing, therapeutic relationship. We're talked about all the time in grad school and in life, and it's true. But think about the therapeutic relationship on the other end. They want to know about you too.
Mm-hmm.
Why should they disclose to you? Why should they trust you? Just because they pay you money and you're sitting there and you have an education?
Right.
I think you need to give people a reason to trust you.
Yeah. So, do you mind me asking how long do you have left with that program, by the way? I wanted to ask that.
I have 2 years left.
Okay. 1 year
Yeah,
down. That's awesome.
you're down. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 No flubs, no problem.
Yeah.
Just 1 year down, two more to go, and
I'm so
that's
glad you didn't
okay.
take that lawyer's advice and just be like, well, lose your license.
I did think about it.
Did
I did
you?
think about it. Yeah, but I was like, my gut is telling me not to give up. There's
Yeah.
something more here for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now that you're through it, you know that it's not that scary. You know
No,
that it's something that can support
no,
you and your needs.
exactly. I would
So,
love to help other people who think they might have a problem and just want some extra help.
yeah.
Know that if you admit it and you just get the help, like you're probably going to be okay. Don't let it get to where I went. Oh my goodness. I mean, geez.
Well, I think your story is so unique, especially to me, is because like that added layer of being a therapist. And like I feel like in our field a lot of the time, like there's this kind of like unsaid classism of like, well, I'm
Mhm.
a therapist, I have it all together. I've never been through anything
Oh
and
yeah.
also like, classism on multiple layers, right? Like not only
Yes.
financially, but other things as well. And so
Yes.
I love your story. I love that you're so open about it because it just proves that you can be a professional and you can still go through things and you can still struggle and you can still be a therapist. It doesn't
Yes.
mean, how many times I've heard these like shaming comments of, well, you're in a domestic violence relationship. You come from an abusive family. You can't be a therapist. You're too much. Kind of like almost going back to
Oh,
that self judgment that you had of that girl in grad school.
yeah. That
Yeah.
girl in grad school thought that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, thought that too. I mean, it's so sad and it's true. I mean, I've worked with a lot of different people through the years,
Mm-hmm.
and I would say 99% of them have that attitude you're talking about.
Yeah.
Don't open up. There's no problems here. Look at my beautiful house. You know, I have all these great things. I do these I'm like, yeah, but I want to know the dark and dirty because you got that dark and dirty in there.
Mm-hmm.
I've drank with you. I know
Yeah.
you have a problem.
Yeah. So
Things like
what
that.
what would you say to mental health professionals who are struggling with something like you struggled with?
I think that first is to really get real with yourself
Yeah.
and talk to yourself about, is this something I want to continue doing? Am I living a double life? How do I wake up in the morning? Do I feel as though I don't want to get up? Am I acting like someone I'm not? How does my work feel? Am I being authentic? If you're not and you're struggling with drinking, like you're absolutely not alone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here for you 100%
Mm-hmm.
to walk with you along that journey, but to just let the guard down and get some help.
Right.
And if you lose everything, you do, right? Like I was down to like 5 boxes by the time I was done in rehab.
Mm-hmm.
That was my stuff. That's all I had left, and that's what I kept. So your life is meant to happen the way it's meant to happen, and so it's okay. Like the Department of Health, it depends what state you're in, who rules
Absolutely.
board, right? But the big bad Department of Health isn't so big and bad. Like once you kind of realize other human beings are monitoring your license, these are other human beings. It's not like some massive God entity.
And sometimes they're even other therapists.
They are absolutely.
Yeah.
Uh, we could do it someday. It's you never know. I don't
Right.
want to,
Right.
but I think that just talk to someone, let it out, get it out. You do not have to hide anymore, and tell your board because I didn't even know. Really, this sounds so naive, but I didn't even really know you had to tell your board stuff.
Mhm.
Hey, I had a hospitalization. Hey, I have this disorder. Obviously, addiction, I was never going to share till now. But that I didn't know that you had to tell them incidents. Hey, I got pulled over, DUI, whatever. Tell them,
Mhm.
let them know because it's so much better to be truthful and forthcoming than it is to like get found out,
Right.
you know? And I think you got to really get it together because clients know. I think clients do know eventually, like, something's really off. And
Oh,
that's not cool.
absolutely.
And that's not fair to them.
Right.
That's
Right.
not fair to
And
them.
it sounds like even with your experience especially too, like preventative care, preventative steps could have made the outcome a little bit softer.
I think
Telling the board
so.
ahead of time, telling, and I understand
Right.
your reasons why, obviously, of course, right? There's a lot
Yeah.
of
Weird.
empathy there. And also, like, for other therapists or mental health professionals listening in, like, you can have those preventative steps to
Hmm.
seek for help. And it's not as scary as they probably think.
No, no.
Yeah.
And maybe it's something, and maybe it's just what you need.
Hmm.
Maybe it's something that you need you didn't know you needed.
Yeah.
Right. And like yeah, just don't be afraid to speak up and like help shatter the stigma around this because I will be willing to bet there's a million different therapists that were drinking behind the computer during COVID.
Mm,
I,
yeah.
I just can't imagine I was the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what other like revelations have you come to for renewal, or what
Mm.
does, growth look like now for you?
Oh gosh, good question. Well, a lot of things. So in my professional life, you know, I'm doing I'm doing some spiritual coaching
Hmm.
courses and a little bit of life coaching courses just to kind of get some more knowledge. I'm in the program,
Yep.
so I'm always trying to work with other women who might, need help. So that helps me spiritually too, and it helps me stay in it. And we do speaking events on the program, and
Hmm.
um, that's really cool. I get to go back to the rehab I got sober at and speak.
Cool. That is so cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Every one
Yeah.
Wednesday a month, we show up and resolutions and we share our strength and hope and what happened and where we're at now. And I remember sitting in those seats, broken and bruised, and thinking, I want to be that girl that gets up there and talks. If I get
Hmm.
up there and do it, I feel like I made it. And I
Yeah.
did. I made it
Yeah.
happen. So I do that. That's always growing because, public speaking and sharing your story over and over and like helping other people. Um, what else? I just spiritual stuff mostly. I
Okay.
do a lot of spiritual reading, and I've been really into law of attraction. So I do a lot of I don't chase, I attract.
Yeah. Cool.
Right, that's kind of my mantra. And then have kiddos, of course. So always kind of working with when I go visit, spending a lot of good quality time with my older boys and my younger one, helping him kind of thrive and grow and very happy he's not going to have to see his parents go through addiction.
Hmm.
He's on the other side of it, like he
Yeah.
goes to meetings.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun. And actually, my fiance, we've been together almost 3 years. He's going to go to school to become an addiction counselor,
Cool.
and we're going to open a practice in the next few years together.
That would be awesome.
So that's our plan.
That is so
Yeah,
cool.
that's our plan. So he's got his own story
Hmm.
of recovery, and he's got an amazing mindset. So that's what he's doing. And so that's kind of where we're growing right now. And
Yeah. A lot of
um,
plans too for the future, like things to look ahead
mhm.
for. Like your life didn't end, and that is
No,
so
it didn't
wonderful.
end. It didn't end, and it could have many times.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for the hardships and the experiences and the tears and the wine drinking nights alone. Like, it just kind of got me to where I'm meant to be, I think.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
A
once I gave
catalyst,
up.
caterpillar turning into its butterfly.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have a
Absolutely.
baby now too, a fresh baby.
Oh, yes, a fresh guy.
Yep. Yep.
Never thought at 40 I'd have a baby, but here
Oh
we
my
are.
gosh. Yeah.
I know. It's
Well,
pretty cool though. I've learned a lot since the last few years. So
yeah.
always growing, always checking out new stuff. I love stoicism. I think that's got me through a lot of really hard times. So
Yeah.
I definitely have adopted the mentality of turn the obstacle into an opportunity.
Right.
100%.
Right. And talk
Yeah,
about just like a 180 from where you were
I know.
to where you are now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
5 years ago, oh my goodness. And I look back at pictures and I think, oh, I didn't know, like how I knew nothing.
Mm.
I knew
Like,
nothing, yet
how
was,
did you not know, maybe?
yeah, how did I not know? And how did I let myself get wrapped up in this shenanigans?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so true. Like, hindsight is 2020. Um, you look back on pictures of yourself back in dark places and you're like, how did I not realize at the time what I was going through and
That's right.
not make a change at that time? Why did it take this or that or whatever?
That's right. And I think from what I've learned in my, spiritual path is
Mm-hmm.
that's just what was meant to be. You can't escape it.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
escape it. And so I look back and I pay attention now too. It doesn't happen as much as it used to, but the reoccurring patterns, like why do I keep being faced with this same hardship?
Hmm.
This
Yeah.
same theme keeps showing up. Well, my belief is that in this lifetime, those are the karmic debts, or that's like what we're supposed to kind of battle
Right.
to
Right.
move on into the next step spiritually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, spirituality has been such a huge part of your growing and just your changing for your own self. Um,
Yes.
is there any other like learnings or grounding mantras that you have now that kind of helps you to stay sane in all of this?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's going to sound kind of cliche, but the serenity prayer.
Okay, yeah,
Okay,
absolutely. Yeah.
right? That one. So when I first got sober, that I really started adopting that. I mean, that's been around in my life here and there, but I really feel the words. Like when I say it, I feel it. And I really try to do it. And so if I'm getting a little bit spun out of control on certain things, because it does happen,
Totally.
I
Yeah.
will, right? I'll stop myself, take a few breaths, and I'll recite that prayer.
Right.
Grant, God, grant me the serenity. Like, and I do actually feel serenity most of the time these
Yeah.
days, which is really incredible.
That is
I
awesome.
never thought in a million years I would. The other one is, I don't chase, I attract, which I truly believe. Like, once I stopped chasing people
Mhm.
or careers or, you know, chasing them away, like, doing all that, I kind of just was like, let me be open minded, and what comes to me will come to me.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that a lot.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I think I've shared with you like I personally haven't had addiction on my side except for my family but I
Yeah,
think the serenity prayer can definitely be grounding in its own. And
very
like that
much.
kind of like I'm huge with my clients of like what are the things you can control and what are the things that
Hmm.
are outside of your control, which could
Yeah,
be also very
absolutely.
grounding. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you really take time to break it down and really think about it, don't just say it,
Mhm.
really believe it, really
Totally.
start thinking about it. It's very helpful.
Yeah.
Another one too is it's called the fourth step prayer. So it's in the 12 steps. It's really about letting go of resentments, and it's
Mm.
really about not like kind of forgiving others, right? Recognizing that others have issues too, and I have to give them grace for that. I mean, I need to learn to let go. I need
Yeah.
to kind of just forgive and forget
Yeah.
and let go a little bit, and just treat people kindly despite it. I mean, I'm not saying let others wreck your boundaries and treat you like garbage, but this is a great example. Is when I first went to treatment, I would do prayers or reach. I never said like my God is not. I don't call him God. Like my God is something else. I just say a higher power. And so when I started doing prayer or higher power reach outs, I guess, to people that I may have been upset with,
Mhm.
and that helped. So if
Okay.
I'm upset with someone, I just do a little prayer reach out for that. Like, let them have safety and security. I'm safe and secure. It's
Hmm.
okay. I thank them for what happened, you know. And that was extremely helpful too.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And
Hmm.
I really do appreciate too that you said like just because everything is peaceful right now and you're over such a huge hump that you've had in your life, it doesn't mean that there still is chaos somewhat in your life or that can come in.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We're all human. I mean, human being who worries about regular daily things
Right.
at times, right? Nowhere
Absolutely.
near catastrophic as what it
Yeah.
was by any means. But yeah, I mean, it's been rough the past couple of years too. I mean, we had our court stuff,
Mhm.
battling for kiddos. Like, you know, we've had to really come to some good agreements there. I mean, that was not easy. That was
Absolutely.
brutal,
Yeah.
super brutal.
So
Yeah.
any other like key takeaways or anything else that you want to talk about
Hmm,
before we head out that we might have
sure.
missed?
So hard to say. I think it's just, you know, it's that whole statement of like, don't suffer in silence.
Right.
It doesn't have to get that bad. It's also okay to identify as an alcoholic or addict.
Mhm.
I hear a lot lately of these like people who want to just be sober curious. Oh, fine, you know, whatever. But, and I'm not that. If I go to the program, that means that I'm worse than you,
Right.
or I'm just as bad as you. Like,
Right.
I don't believe that. Don't believe that. Just because you go to a meeting doesn't mean you're any worse or better than anyone else.
Right.
Get some help, get some community. And I think for new therapists, right, going into the field,
Totally.
get help.
Mhm.
Like, do the work on yourself
Yeah.
and place yourself in places where you do get to have support. Don't tolerate corporate abuse. You do not have to do that.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
place for you, and everything, it's possible, and you can do it for yourself someday if you really want to. But reach out to people that get it,
Mhm.
and share your secrets.
Yeah. Finding your community is so
Mhm.
important. And it's really
For
ironic
sure.
that you say like um share the secrets because before I met with you, I had on the podcast Dr. Heather Gonzalez, who she has bipolar 1, and
Ah,
she's a behavioral analyst, not a therapist, but still, you know, in the therapy field.
oh yeah,
Um, and you know, we talked heavily about how secrets live in darkness and they thrive in darkness, and that is where abuse and lies thrive. Is when we're
absolutely.
silent, is when we are not talking and we are not building
Mhm.
that community. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't, yeah, secrets die in the light. Like, I just had
Yeah.
this little article I posted with that on there. And it's so true. I mean, I've been watching people in my life reveal these dark secrets they've had their whole life, and be accepted for that. And you can see incredible growth within them. And like, oh my gosh, the worst of the worst didn't happen. The
Mm-hmm.
committee in my mind told me it was going to be really bad,
Yeah.
but that committee is often wrong or not accurate. So yeah, for
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah.
Sharing your secrets with someone trusted is like the best freedom you can ever have.
It's such a relief too. It can be when you have somebody that you
Absolutely.
trust.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
So interesting. Those two messages
Yeah,
intertwine. So, yeah.
that's really good.
Well, before we head out, how about you
Mhm.
share, you know, your blog, where people can find
Yeah,
you, and if you have your own resources or resources that you've created for people who are listening that could
sure.
find that helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on Substack. My name is Soul Centered Recovery. I've got articles on there, kind of just about some of the nitty gritty we talked about here. I have a podcast. It's called In the Messy Middle with Soul Centered Recovery, and I'll share some of my story on there pretty soon. And I'll also be having some guests to share their experience in addiction and through hardships of life. So
Mm-hmm.
Substack, Soul Centered Recovery. I'm also on Instagram. You can search for soul centered underscore recovery. You should be able to find me.
Yeah.
You can always Google Amberly Potter and find some of those resources too. In Instagram, you can click and see my link tree in the bio. I have a blueprint for professionals to get sober,
Okay.
a little
Cool.
ebook
Very
that I
cool.
created for free in there. You can check
That's
that out too.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will try to include that in the description in our video
Okay.
today too as well. So
Definitely. Thanks,
awesome.
Jenny.
Anything else you want to share before I head out?
I no, I want to say I just love you so much, and I feel
Yeah.
like I love that we've connected, and you're definitely someone in my tribe for sure. And I love what you're doing too.
Oh,
So,
well, I really appreciate that. Yeah, and I
yeah.
share the same love for you. Like, told my therapist about you, so you know
I
it's
told people
legit.
about
No,
you. Yeah, heck yeah.
but yeah, I mean, obviously, I've told you like we don't have the same lived experience completely, but there are so many similarities that we have shared, and I just so
Absolutely.
appreciate your authenticity and your ability to speak out. And for anybody listening, her
Yeah.
blog is amazing. I read it at every chance I get. I didn't read the last one and I need to, but you write so beautifully and articulately too. So definitely check
Thank
it out.
you.
So yeah,
It's kind of nice to have my writing background now come back full circle.
totally. Yeah.
I didn't know that would work out that way, but here we are.
Interesting that it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jenny, for having me on.
Of course. Okay. Well, thank
Okay.
you. And we will talk again.